What's up, baseball players? I'm Coach Dan Blewett. In today's video, let's talk about, should you hit and run? All right, so if you're new here, I'm Coach Dan. I'm a former pro pitcher. I talk a lot about the strategy of the game, pitching mechanics, different pitch grips, strength training, arm care, mental skills. They're all on this channel. You'll also find my pitching books and my online courses in the description below, so definitely check those out. So in today's video, let's talk about hitting and running. Obviously, the hit and run is something a little bit more from the game of yesteryear. It's not as much in the major league game today. And there's some reasons for that, and there's some pros and cons to doing it. So let's start first with the reasons that maybe you do want to hit and run and some of the benefits of it. So first off, if you don't know what a hit and run is, it's when the runner takes off and he's stealing on the pitch, and the batter knows that he's stealing, so he's going to swing and try to put the ball in play on that pitch. And typically, if the hitter doesn't connect, that runner is going to be thrown out because you're kind of getting a later break. And the goal is not really that this person is a base stealer as much as they're just going to go. And if you put the ball in play and you hit it to the right side, the second baseman on a right-handed hitter is going to cover second base, and it's going to leave basically the entire right side of the field open. So if you execute a hit and run well, the runner steals before the pitch, therefore the second baseman runs to cover, and then the right-handed hitter is just going to hit behind the runner, hit over into the second base area, and even the weakest ground ball is just going to trickle into the outfield as he goes first to third. That's essentially how a hit and run works. It'd be the opposite if it was a left-handed hitter. The shortstop would cover on the steal, and the left-handed hitter would slap it into the shortstop's area. So that's the goal of a hit and run. We need to cover that first. So why should you consider doing this? Well, in the pro column, number one, it teaches strategy and coordination. So understanding the player movement on the field, right? When a certain handed hitter, like a right-handed hitter, the second baseman's going to cover. Left-handed hitter, the shortstop's going to cover on a steal. This is an important thing for kids to understand. And when a runner steals and takes off, it's just trying to figure out and help them understand how all the moving pieces fit together. So when you teach kids to hit and run, you're helping to expand their baseball IQ, which is a good thing. Also, coordination. You're asking a hitter to hit the ball into a specific location on the field, which is very difficult to do, regardless of the location. We'll talk about that on the con side as well. But this is good for teaching kids how to have good bat control. Like, can they do that job? Can they take an inside pitch and inside out it and hit it over into that gap that's going to be open by the second baseman taking off or the shortstop taking off to cover the base? So it teaches strategy, it teaches coordination. Those are good things for developing players to learn. The next thing, it's very demoralizing if this works, because as a pitcher, you just like make a normal pitch and then suddenly this guy's easily going first to third and you see this weak, stupid ground ball, just trickle into the outfield, and you're like, dang it, like that would have been an easy ground ball right to my second baseman if they hadn't done this hit and run, right? So it's very demoralizing. Everyone in the field's pissed off about it. It's annoying. So, and that's good for morale. Like, obviously the up and down of confidence on both teams is important in baseball. This is also going to make a lot more sense to put on if the pitcher throws a lot of strikes. So if you have a pitcher who is not walking anybody, he's kind of pounding the bottom of the strike zone, he's in the strike zone a lot, this is going to make more sense as a coach to put this on. If you have a pitcher who doesn't have to throw that many strikes, he's got really good stuff, or he's just kind of all over the place, like high fastball, inside, outside, bounce a curve, bounce a slider, it's going to be a lot more risky to do this because the hitter might not get anything good to swing at. And now if that ball goes through the catcher, your base stealer is going to be pretty much a dead duck going to second base. So you need to have an excellent contact hitter up at the plate. Number one, someone that can actually have a chance of doing this and putting the ball in play and putting it into the right spot in the field, as well as a pitcher that's going to be suited for it. So again, you don't want to do this with someone who's wild. If you have a pitcher who's like pretty much down the zone and it's early in the count where maybe it's 0-0 or it's 1-0, especially where the pitcher really wants to throw a strike. Now you say, okay, he really wants to put it in the strike zone where my hitter can handle it and maybe put that ball into the right spot to get this runner over to third. So you also need to, piggybacking on that, you also need to choose a count in general where a fastball is expected. You don't really want to give your hitter this task where they have to hit behind the runner while hitting a slider or a curveball. So if you did this 1-2 or 0-2, be pretty risky because there's a much higher probability of the pitcher throwing a curveball or a slider in that count. And understanding what the pitcher tends to throw in general will help give you clues. So your goal is to pick a fastball count as a coach, where you're like, okay, I have a pretty good chance, maybe 75% odds that he's going to throw a fastball in this count, based on the situation, based on what we've seen with this pitcher. And that makes me feel pretty good with the contact hitter I have up that maybe we can pull this off, right? So those are some of the strategic considerations to putting on a good hit and run. Now let's talk about some of the negatives, like why you might not want to do a hit and run. So number one, if you have no idea what the pitch could be. So if you have a pitcher who just throws like 3 pitches for strikes and he's just like kind of really keeping hitters guessing, that's not a good situation because you don't want to be 1-0 and send the runner and he throws a nasty changeup and your hitter whiffs through it and now you have an out at second base. So obviously it's not a guarantee that the hitter's going to get thrown out at second base, but it's a pretty good likelihood if your catcher's not terrible and this runner is not a crazy fast, flame foot. Does anyone call people flame feet? I don't know. Anyway, so if you have no idea what the pitch could be, the pitcher's very unpredictable, or the pitcher's very wild, you definitely don't want to do this. Number 2, remember, even good hitters can screw this up. This is not an easy thing to do. And the other thing you don't want to do is take the bat out of a really good hitter's hand. So say, for example, you had a runner on first and Mike Trout was up. Well, Mike Trout is incredible. So do you really want to ask Mike Trout to try to hit a pitch into the second base gap just to get this guy first to third? What if this pitcher grooves an inner half fastball to Mike Trout? Do you really want him to then like try to inside out it to second base? Or do you just want to let Mike Trout demolish that ball into the gap? That's one of the trade-offs here. You don't know what's going to happen and what this pitcher is going to throw. So if you're doing this with one of your more dangerous hitters, like your 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, this pitcher might throw him a cookie, and now instead of just destroying it, hitting a dinger or a double or just really hitting it hard, they're going to have to try to shorten up and hit to second base. So you kind of take the bat out of the hitter's hands, which can really screw your team over depending on the situation and what the pitcher throws. So that's another consideration. You probably want to do this again more with a contact hitter or someone who's not as good of a damage threat in the batter's box. So again, don't take Mike Trout's bat out of his hand just to shoot for the best possible scenario, which is a single. That's the other thing to remember. The best case scenario in this situation is you hit a single through the right side and you have a runner on first, and that runner on first goes to third. So you get first and third. First and third is the best possible scenario from this. So you have to ask yourself why, and is the hitter capable of getting a better outcome than that in general? So again, if Mike Trout's up, you don't need to do this. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But if your 8-hole hitter's up and he's been kind of overmatched today, and it's unlikely that he's going to get a hit, or it's very likely that he's going to ground and do a double play, then this might make sense because now he can hit the ball on the ground. And with that second baseman vacating or the shortstop vacating, depending on the handedness of the hitter, now you're like giving that hitter who's kind of weak a boost. So that might make more sense. But you don't really want to do this with good hitters because you're going to take the bat out of their hand. And even the best hitters, if you ask Mike Trout to try to put a eye-high fastball into the second base gap, like he might be able to do it, he might not. Or the pitcher throws him really far inside as a righty, he has like no chance of hitting the ball where it needs to go for this the hit and run. So that's another consideration. The other thing is if you hit a line drive or you hit in the air, very high chance there's going to be a double play and your bases are going to be cleared. So there's again, the highest upside you can hope for in the hit and run is first and third and no outs recorded. But there's a lot of downside. Line drive, double play. Pop up, double play. Fly ball into like shallow or medium outfield might also still be a double play depending on how fast the runner can get back. So again, the runner's going to be stealing. So if that ball is put in the air, there's a very good chance he's doubled off. Not to mention if the hitter swings and misses because they throw a slider or a changeup or it's a weird location, that guy's going to be probably thrown out at second base. So you have to remember that there's a lot of downside to doing a hit and run. And that's really the main negative about it and why a lot of coaches don't bother with it, because the hitter's got to be really good at it. You've got to have a really good chance of them throwing a strike for that hitter to hit. And it's got to be a strike they can actually hit into that part of the field. Because again, really high, they bounce a slider, they throw really tight into the hitter. They're not going to be able to punch that to the right side. And when you're asking the hitter to do all those different things, you have to say, the best case scenario is first to third. Is this really worth all that effort? So again, at the youth levels, I think this is good to get players understanding the strategy of the game, the player movement of the game, some of the things you can do. But there's a reason that you don't see the hit and run that much at the higher levels because it's harder to pull it off. There are some high school teams that are amazing at it. They really work at it, and it can really change a game in a critical situation. So kudos to you if you're one of those programs or you've seen that happen. It can really demoralize a team and work. But again, it's like kind of a high risk, kind of low reward. So it just really depends. But hopefully today in this video, we've talked through a lot of the pros and cons and what could be beneficial and why you might not want to use it as a coach, as a player, or as a parent. All right. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to leave a comment. Do you use the hit and run? Do you like the hit and run? Do you hate the hit and run? Leave a comment below and we'll talk about it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.